Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Nedling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast, this Podapalooza version. And we have always guests and topics that will help you grow your business and take it to the next level. Today, I have Iris Goldfeder on my show today. And let me just tell you a little bit about her. She is a longtime entrepreneur with more than 25 years of success in the digital marketing field. She is also the host of the GasStoveCreative, and she presents cookbook recipes in marketing. I can't wait to talk about this, and business success. So I always start out with an easy question for all my guests, which is, what part of the country or where do you call home?
I call New York home, but I live in Indiana.
So it's funny. I live in Georgia, but my family is in Pittsburgh. So when I'm in Pittsburgh, I call it home. And when I'm in Georgia, I call it home. So I think
my wife is from Pittsburgh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I was born in Trafford, which is near Monroeville.
Okay, I actually know where that is. Okay.
And my parents live in Irwin, which is a little bit west of, west of Monroeville. But anyway, we're about an hour from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
But it's not cold here in Georgia, so I like it here.
Right. Yeah, no kidding.
And I've actually been in Georgia longer than I lived in Pittsburgh now, because I've been here almost 40 years almost. So, Okay, so I want to know about your podcast first, and then we'll kind of get into how you got started in doing what you're doing. So talk to me about the GasStoveCreative.
So the podcast is GasStoveCreative presents the cookbook, recipes in marketing and business success. And it started a year ago. Actually, I think next week is a year, which is like insane. But people have been telling me for probably the last 5 years, you need to do podcasts. You need to do podcasts. And I was like, no, I really don't. And then I ended up with COVID, and I almost died. I have this thing called a bilateral iliac arterial dissection. So basically COVID attacked my heart rate, which caused high blood pressure. It also attacked my blood vessels, which weakened my arterial walls. And so my blood, so I'm okay. I'm stable, and now I have to get checked every year. But after a year, when I went back to the doctor, he said, "You're stable. Everything's good. I'll see you in a year." And I didn't realize that I'd been holding my breath for a year, thinking I could die.
Yeah.
So I went down to my car, cried, and then I was like, I'm doing all the things. So I called up my friend Kofi, who's, a producer, and I said, hey, I'm ready to do podcasts. And he was at my house like within an hour. And we were like, okay, what are we going to call this thing? And then it was like, well, the business is GasStoveCreative. And after about a half hour, we were like, oh, the cookbook, duh, the cookbook. So recipes. And then the whole thing kind of fell in, and then, well, what is it going to be about? And because I was an entrepreneur and the journey has been incredible, incredibly bad and incredibly good, I said, why don't we just make it about entrepreneurship? And it could be for entrepreneurs, people thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, the C-suite, and we'll go from there. And it's evolved into this, it's still for entrepreneurs. It's still for people who are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs. It's still for the C-suite, but it's also for people who like to hear success stories, because a lot of the journeys to entrepreneurship are these amazing survival and success stories that I never saw coming. I mean, I remember the first one, I was like, whoa, that's amazing. And so people are gleaning not just business tips, but like life tips. So it's been really amazing.
I think that that's what I found too, was that a lot of times, in business, we only see the success, even in Hollywood, how they say it, overnight success, and really took them 30, 40 years to get there.
Yes.
but you only focus on the good things. And I'm loving the stories that show that it isn't a smooth ride, that it is the rocky ride, that roller coaster that makes you stronger and better as that entrepreneur. And so I can completely appreciate, what you're saying about what you're finding in your podcast.
Yeah. There's like a great synergy here. Excuse me.
So whenever I see the cookbook recipes in marketing, well, first of all, marketing is like making a souffle or a bread, which you look at it and you think, how simple could this be? And then you try to do it and you suck at it, or it completely collapses, or it doesn't rise, or it's like a brick, So to me, that's what the way marketing is for a lot of people. So talk to me about how you incorporate that idea of recipes in marketing.
So the podcast is different than what I do. What I do, or what my business is all-in-one marketing solutions for business, for service-based businesses. And of course, there's all the cooking euphemisms around them, because it's got to be kitschy, right? But at the end of the day, you're right. People are like, oh, how hard could this be? And then they call me up and they're like, oh, I had one guy, this was like my favorite story. He called me up last year. It was like I think May or June. And, somebody referred him to me, and I said, okay, let's have a conversation, because I don't work with everybody. Not everybody's necessarily a fit. So we were talking, and he said, well, I do my own social media. I said, okay. I said, well, what do you do? He goes, well, I post maybe once a month. I said, okay. And how is that, working for you? He goes, I don't know.
It doesn't.
So I said, okay. So, kind of let it go at that. And he goes, well, and, I edit my own website. And I looked at it prior. I said, okay. I said, when was the last time when was it created? He said, I don't know, 2015, 2014. And I said, okay. And I looked on mobile, and it wasn't mobile friendly. So I was like, all right. I said, he said, but I do all the edits myself. I said, so why are we having this conversation? I mean, if you're doing everything yourself, why do you need me? He goes, well, I need direction. And I said, this probably isn't a good fit. So I ended the conversation, because it wasn't. I was kind of getting frustrated that so he calls me back a week later. And I wasn't going to take the call. I'm sorry. My dog is weighing in. I think I'm getting a delivery. And so I took the call, and he said, I didn't think you were going to pick up. And I said, why? And he said, because I kind of came into the meeting not the way that I really wanted to. And I said, I was like, okay, why? And he said, I honestly felt threatened. So I said, why? I said, you're calling a marketing expert if you need help. He goes, because I've done everything myself the whole time. And I had to admit that I suck at something. He goes, and I didn't want to do that. So I said, now I'll talk to you. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, and I'm not trying to be an ass. I said, but here you are saying you can do all the things. And meanwhile, they're not, bringing you good results. Mm-hmm. So, he said, okay. And we sat down and I asked him a bunch of, because I always ask, questions and I listen. A lot of people don't listen. I listen to really hear, what is going on. And, we put this great plan together for him. And he's like, he's doing really well. His business is doubled.
Nice.
And he loves me. And I, but those are the people, if I don't feel like I can help somebody, I'm not going to work with them. Right. But to me, it was like, it was such a, moment of not that I know better than you, but this is what I do. You do what you do, and you're really good at what you do. I do what I do, and I'm really good at what I do. So let me do what I do and help you. And so we did.
Well, and you have to, again, going back to the recipe analogy, I can look at a recipe. I can do everything it says on that recipe, and it won't turn out as good as maybe you do.
As a person who, I had one guy say, I don't care how you make the sausage, just give me the sausage. Mm-hmm. Right? Because there is a lot that goes into it. And I think that, I think that I had a friend who was like, hey, we need a website. And I said, okay, this is how much it's going to be. And they were like, whoa, we don't have that kind of money. I said, okay, well then we'll throw like a template thing together for you, but it's going to take a little while. And they didn't get it. They didn't get how, and then I explained everything that went into just building one page. And they just couldn't even believe it because you don't know what you don't know.
Right, exactly. So whenever you talk about marketing and business success, you really can't have success without some sort of marketing. So what challenges typically would a new entrepreneur have to face just starting out? What kind of simple marketing could they do to fix some of the things to get going?
The first thing you need is a plan. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people, they just think that they're just gonna be able to get out there. They don't realize that, word of mouth works for so long, right? And bless you. And so you need a plan. You need somebody who can at least guide you. Maybe they're not going to do the marketing for you, but you need somebody that you can at least talk to that's done it before. Because if you're starting out in business, you have to do marketing. Nobody knows about you, right? If you're established, and people know about you, but now it's stagnating, you need to do something else, right? Because everything that you've done has worked up until now, but now you've hit this, this block. So I know. So, Skylar has a lot to say about marketing.
Yeah.
But you hit this block, and then, so what do? Do you just stay where you are? Or, if you want to do more, then you need a new marketing plan. You need to figure out,
So to create that marketing plan as a new entrepreneur, we talk about knowing who your audience is and your avatar and things like that. Do you have a template or a quiz? I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Maybe they need to talk to you and Catherine O'Leary together, but something that can springboard them to understanding that, because I know that the entrepreneurs that I have talked with, oftentimes they have the idea for the business, but they really don't understand who their target audience is.
Right. So one thing I did is I have a quiz on my website. The pop-up is broken right now for whatever reason, but in the footer of my website, and it's what kind of marketing should you be doing? And it asks, good questions about what does what do you think your audience is doing? How do they absorb their information? And it'll give you a good idea where, your audience is on LinkedIn, they're on YouTube, they're, wherever. And I think at the end of the day, people think that they know who their audience is. But unless you do a really deep dive, and it's really a psychological dive, you don't know. I thought, as a marketer, I thought I knew who my audience was. And for the most part, I do, but I was missing a little bit of a sector, and that was business coaches or leadership coaches. I never saw that one coming. But I work with a coach, and I think that's the other thing too. Don't be afraid to reach out. I think people are so afraid to reach out to other professionals and even somebody in your field. It doesn't have to be competitive. It can actually be collaborative. It could be something where, I reach out to other marketers all the time. I'll be like, hey, I have this client, and I'm kind of here with them, but what's your point of view on that? And then I get a completely different point of view, and I do the same for them. And it's like, oh man, I didn't even see that one. When you're so close to something, right? It's like, how do you remove yourself from it so that you can look at it from that, bird's eye view from, the top? It's a little hard to do that. But I think that if you ask the right questions, and people are really willing to be honest, because some people are, it's hard, right? Looking at, okay, wait, who really are the people that I'm selling to, and who really can use my service? Who can I help? I think that's really, at the end of the day, what it is. Does that make sense?
And I think I found that myself, that oftentimes, a lot of us in the last 2 years became entrepreneurs. And, for me, I had 40 years in business, corporate. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to start this business. I know what I need to do. And then I realized that I don't have time to waste to reinvent the wheel. And so I have 4 coaches. It's like, each one is doing something different for me, but it gives you that perspective, someone to talk to, someone to ask. But it's also the community that comes with those coaches that gives you that broader perspective to be able to really understand where you need to grow and what things you need to stop doing too, obviously.
I'm in this amazing community called the Dames. And I will, if you haven't heard from them, I should send you a link. It is a community of women entrepreneurs, 6 figures plus, and we don't sell to each other. We support each other. We're each other's hand up. Because of that community, I was able to basically triple my business last year. But more than that, more than, the money piece, it's the personal piece of it. Yeah. It's the investment in yourself and the amount of confidence that I've, built over the last year. And when I got my website redone and we rebranded, they were like, it has to, needs to be you. And it took me about 2 weeks to see my face on the cover of my website and be okay with it. And then finally I looked at it and I was like, I am damn proud of that.
Yeah.
I am, because that's who people want to work with. And that's who they want to see. And it's me.
Yeah.
And I'd worked my ass off to get here.
And that's really important. I always tell people that it's really not your product or service, but it is you that
you
they
are
buy.
the product, actually.
You are who they buy.
Right.
And that's why I don't have problems having and working with people that do the same thing I do, because it's that individual relationship you have with that person that makes it work. And so, there's a lot of people, and I don't need 100,000 people. I just need a couple handfuls of people to make my business profitable. So, I think that's the attitude that you have to have.
Well, and I think also we all have our differentiator, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not all the same. If we were all the same, then
yeah, right.
What would set us apart? That I help my clients find that, because they're leadership coaches. Well, what's your differentiator? I've done this before. I have one client who was she's a leadership coach. And she was the former, she was going to beat me, I think, COO of, Mercy Housing. And she coaches, COOs and CMOs and the C-suite, because she's been there before. She's done their job. She knows, the obstacles that they're facing. She knows that it's hard. And so that differentiates her from a different leadership coach who, may want to coach the C-suite, but doesn't have that exact experience that she does. And she's been on fire. She's been on fire. So it's just so great, seeing, my efforts and my team. It's not just me. I have a team, right? And it's all of our efforts to help elevate these people. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what just lights me up, is just looking and being like, man, all of our skill sets together just raise this person.
I mean, that's the purpose of my podcast, is just to connect people with resources that will help them grow as entrepreneurs and make life a little bit less stressful, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what would your final thought be if you were wanting to have them walk away with 1 or 2 tips of how they can be better at marketing?
Really get to know your audience. Like have a conversation with a couple of your clients and listen. Don't listen to talk. Listen to hear. Really, hear what they say, because when you listen to hear, you'd be surprised what you uncover. And the other thing, honestly, and this is not just business, this is just in general, if you can be anything in life, be kind.
Yeah.
Everyone's going through a struggle, in business, personally. You just never know what somebody's story is. They're having a bad day or whatever. Just be kind.
Oh, so good. Well, as always, I end this with life is a journey, and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Netling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Netling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.